obviously with Pitt this year, there's a lot of buzz going around, and I think it's going to be a pretty big year for Pitt. But I want to start and get your guys' opinion on Coach Narduzzi entering his 11th year. So 10 years is a great milestone. It's an odd milestone in coaching for as many for when people want to just turn and burn coaches. So in his 11th year, he has accumulated a record of 72-56, 46-36 in ACC play, 2 appearances in the ACC Championship game, and obviously that great 2021 year with the ACC Championship. I'll start with Harry on this one, and definitely want to get JJ's thoughts as well as GB's. What is your thought on the tenure so far with Coach Narduzzi?
Well, I think perspective in life is key. And if you look at what happened prior to Coach Deuce being there, you had the end of the Wanstead era, which was a debacle. I think everyone can agree with that. You had Todd Graham coming in, and I don't think Paul Chryst, he did help turn the program around to some extent, but he also used Pitt. He was planted and plucked away, which I personally didn't like, by Barry Alvarez. So Narduzzi has always been a great cultural fit at Pitt. I know people are believe he's getting stale, but what I do like is the culture that he's built. I mean, you could see it now reminiscent in a lot of these meetings. It isn't just what they're doing on the field. He's talking about quiet time, where they're going over the mental aspects and teamwork and being a better human being. And so he's not flawless. He's not perfect, but I think he's what the program needed. And there's a lot to be said about staying in college football nowadays for over a decade. That being said, this is a critical season. He has to produce. We can go into why last season fell apart. That's a whole different story. But I believe we could be looking at and when I say that, not in a negative way, but he's close to retirement. So you could be actually, as a fan, watching the last Pat Narduzzi season. If not, he might have one more in the can. I don't know. But I do like what he's brought, and I do like the culture that he's brought and the toughness element to the team. So like I said, I think it's been a 10-year blessing for the program.
One, I couldn't agree with you more. And one of the things you talked about there was the fact that, what the program needed. And to your point, we talked about the turnstile of head football coaches that we're going through here, especially after the Wanstead era, which more than likely should not have ended. I think that Dave Wanstead was given the support that he has now, like that Pat Narduzzi has now. I think potentially Pitt's a top 20, top 15 team every year because of how he was able to recruit with the limited resources, the limited upgrades in the facilities. There's numerous different things we could look at. But to your point, I love how you said it's something that the program needed. One of the things, you look at some things that Pat Narduzzi really did that sets up himself apart from previous head coaches. He set a culture here. One of the things that people talk about, anybody I talk to, whether it's recruits, players, current players, former players, he's a player's coach. He's a player's guy. He loves his guys. And people really, truly play for him. And there's been a number of years where things could have gotten out of hand and the team could have quit, but instead they played for each other. And then Pat Narduzzi really built that culture. And I think, it's truly what Pitt needed, and really needed stability for the past 10 years, and really took Pitt from here to here. But now to go from here to here, there's a question. There truly is a question, is he the guy to really do it? And we look at this year, again, it is a massive year. He's got a lot of returning talent, potentially the best linebacking crew in the country. You look at the defensive line, plenty of returning starters, plenty of guys they've brought in. Jaden Moore, defensive end out of Oregon, former 4-star. He's playing very well during camp. He's got plenty of guys up front, Francis Breu, Sean Fitzsimmons. Then you look at Eli Holstein returning, Cade Bell in his second year, plus Desmond Reed, a returning All-American. The pieces are there. And obviously you return everybody on your staff. It really comes down to this point in, you need to perform. It needs to be there. These next 5 years in college football are a major, major stepping point into what does the next phase look like, which I would expect in 2030 to be another shakeup. And Pitt needs to get on board with being able to be continuously winning each year. They certainly have the support right behind them right now. They continue to build that with more revenue. But Pat Narduzzi, I think, was the guy that truly Pitt needed, and a loyal guy. He never looked to leave. I know there was conversations about Michigan State and whatnot. He never really looked at that. That opportunity was really never there. He was a guy that really stuck to Pitt. and a guy that really built the culture to where you finally had some stability. It's almost like a Kirk Ferentz, a guy you really ever see go past 10 plus years. Nick Saban, 10 plus years. How many coaches are staying past, 5 years? I mean, we've seen how many coaches get fired after 2 years. So he's a guy that we needed, but now it's time to really show you either put up or shut up. I mean, this is a massive, massive year. And if he doesn't perform, there potentially needs to be a change. And, to Harry's point, retirement's calling. Father Time is undefeated. And I think there's going to be a time to where if he's not performing, Alan Green's going to be a guy that says, you know what, I want to move on and get my own guy.
If I could mention, too, if we're going above Narduzzi, JJ was talking about the awful way Wanstead went out. Steve Peterson, at that point, there's a famous story. He asked for carpet in the facilities on the south side. They wouldn't even cough up money for carpet. You're only as good as your administration above you as well. And what's great now, when I say Pitt's come a long way, not just from the stability that he's offered, but at least now we have Chancellor Gable, who's on board, Alan Green, who's on board, and understands the current climate of football. And we all know what that means, NIL money and fundraising as much as possible. So on top of Dews, who's really helped us transition through this period, I think Pitt's come a long way in terms of administration. So to JJ's point again, everything is coming together, but now's the time to perform. Because when we go to these mega conferences, you're only as good as your latest season. And Pitt has to start showing, and not that the team's been horrible. Now's the time to really elevate and show what they could do. And this season's lining up potentially for a big one. We'll see what happens.
So, dude, it's funny. First of all, I can't believe this is going to be his 11th season. That's crazy because I feel like time is flying, first of all. Being 72 and 56, 2 appearances in the ACC Championship game, and he won one with the infamous slide. Everybody knows about that, right? If I could put it into one word, it would be unfinished. That's basically what his career has been so far, is unfinished, and it was a perfect example in 2024. They started off guns a-blazing, 7-0, and and the next thing you know, they went down like Wile E. Coyote, boom, and crashed and burned at the end of the year and went 0-6. So if there's anything, and this type of message really looms dear in my heart, because Abernworth Lopes have the exact same message: finish the business, right? And my understanding is that's what Mike Narduzzi has been talking about, is finishing, right? And I think that's the culmination that will really put his name up there at a highly respectable level in Pitt history once he finishes the business. And I do feel like this team has the ingredients, right? They have the ingredients to return back to the ACC championship. That'll be interesting to see.